Good morning, Cincinnati, and welcome into another episode of the Bearcat Brunch, brought to you by our wonderful partners at Live Healthy Hydrate. Live Healthy Hydrate is locally owned and operated by emergency medicine certified physicians, nurse practitioners, and registered nurses with 120 plus years of combined experience in critical care medicine, utilizing our knowledge and expertise to maximize our clients' health, safety, and comfort. With 3 locations in the Cincinnati area, Live Healthy Hydrate offers treatments for weekend recovery, game day preparation for hydration, and rapid recovery, aka that hangover. They offer the popular Myers cocktail, as well as the premium proprietary Crown Jewel cocktail, along with customized treatments such as the Glow Up for the love of pregnancy and feeling slender. Add-on injections such as B12, Toradol, Zofran, magnesium, zinc, and many more are also available. Most IV treatments are around $100, as well as some custom and premium treatments at $130. Gift cards are also available. Make sure to check them out on Facebook, Instagram, X, and at livehealthyhydrate.com. And with that, we are back on a very sunny, cool Sunday morning, joined by Chad Brendel, who is filling in for Jeff. He has been a little preoccupied serving and protecting. A little bit extra serving and protecting went a little bit later than he thought. So you may see something about it on the news. You may not. I don't know. I'm not going to get too much into it, but appreciate Chad jumping in to help out. He and Aaron obviously had the aftermath last night, so he's just kind of here to make sure that I don't start rambling like a fool and stick to the details. But thank you for joining me, Chad. And I really you guys covered a ton of it. Please go back and listen to that if you are a masochist and have interest in digging into this loss even further. But I'm really just kind of going to start on a very big picture note of it's something that was a big issue last year and does not seem to be fixed through 2 games this year, and that is the run defense. Taking out quarterback play, sacks, quarterback runs, stuff like that, which Eli Holstein did do a pretty good job with his feet in those drop bait situations, finding some space when no one was open. But the bigger issue, and we talk about it all offseason, given the strength of the running games in the Big 12, is that through 2 games, UC has allowed 53 carries for 349 yards, which is 6.58 yards per carry, 2 running backs. That right there is just, if you just took that number alone, and obviously it's not apples to apples because the quarterback play does factor in, that would be more than a yard per carry worse than the worst rushing defense in the country last year. Just to kind of put it into perspective. Currently all running told they're giving up 5.57 yards per carry. Dead last is 5.66. Last year they allowed 5.35. That was 128th nationally. So, new defense, a bunch of new players, kind of exact same results from the run game. And we can talk pass rush pressure. Actually kind of think that the secondary has been okay to good, given the fact that you're giving up almost 7 yards a carry. Like you're essentially putting your defense in 2nd and 3. So good luck stopping anybody in the pass when they can do whatever the heck they want. So, you look at the remaining schedule, Miami has not been a typical running team, but Willie Fritz has always figured out a way to run the ball. Then you're going to go play Taj Brooks and that Texas Tech offense. Then you're going to play R.J. Harvey and the stable of backs that they have. Then you're still going to play West Virginia, Iowa State, and Kansas State. There's no let up on this rush number. So
UCF might go Navy 2017.
Why would you have KJ Jefferson throw the ball?
I'd run 50 times.
It's and I'll dig into it to it even deeper of what I mean. But it's just you just look at those numbers. The game on paper defensive run stuff rate, Towson 18%, which is 5 percentile. Pitt 10%, 0 percentile. So essentially they had no run stuffing against Pitt.
Yeah.
Because I mean I think that probably just looks at pure run plays, not quarterback, is back to pass and he ends up running for 8 yards or a sack, because that was not intended to be a run play. This is run stuff right. I mean, you essentially did not stuff any run or enough run to get 1 percentile. So, I mean, I honestly don't there's so many things we can talk about in this game, but in the macro of the season, there's really not a whole lot else that needs to be talked about from a success failure rate or success failure level than how terrible they are stopping the run right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you really go look, when they were able to stop Pitt, it was because Pitt decided to pass. They're running air raid, and they decided in that first half and in the third quarter to pass. And I saw the running back multiple times. I saw Reed frustrated that they weren't just give me the ball. These guys have no chance to stop him. Yeah. I mean,
the most concerning part to me is just the general linebacker play. I don't really know what they're doing in any aspect. They're not factoring in the run game, clearly. I mean, you have 3 of them on the field, and we're giving up 6.5 yards to running backs. They're not factoring in coverage. We've had the Desmond. I mean, again, I'm gonna be a little tepid on this of Desmond Reed beat Jack Dingle on that touchdown route, but okay, why is Jack Dingle lined up over the most dynamic player that you've seen through 2 weeks? That's probably a bigger question than why can't Jack Dingle stop him?
Jack Dingle can't cover Reed. No shit.
Right, exactly. So, but they're not factoring in the pass game, and they're not factoring in the pressure game. So, what are they doing?
Yeah, I mean, Pitt ran the ball 38 or just
they had 23
counted as rushes.
They had 23 running back carries. Eli Holston technically ran it 10 times, but I'm just looking at the running backs.
Cincinnati's defense had 2 tackles for loss. They had 2 sacks. So the numbers will say 4 tackles for loss. But the reality is, on running plays, which is what we're discussing here, they stopped Pitt in the backfield twice.
Yeah.
Once by Jared Bartlett, once by Dante Corleone, who, imagine how bad the run defense would have been if the Godfather wasn't there, because he played great.
Yeah,
great.
Played very well.
Returning to the field.
Adding on to the frustration is, very novice in this, but I'm not seeing a lot of exotic stuff. It felt a whole lot exactly the same as the Towson game. It's we're covering up the gaps and they're just taking it right off the tackle. I mean, the first 2 plays of the game, the pop pass to Gavin Bartholomew, who didn't touch the ball again until the 4th quarter. I was is he? And then they just handed off to Des Reed. He just runs straight. Ran straight. Nobody there. Just run straight. So, I mean, there's so much to get into. But again, it's hard for me to come off of this point of how, it just doesn't feel like something that's all of a sudden oh yeah, we're going to click. And we fixed because last year it progressively got worse. And this year it's just started out with a bag full of what. And so,
I mean, for the first half of last year, weren't they one of the top 20 run defenses in the country?
Yeah, for the most part, they were doing, I mean, it was pretty good. But you're just starting off the year at 6.6 yards a carry to running backs before you get into the part of your schedule where the teams are built to run the ball. Pitt has a whole new offensive scheme built on speed and tempo and much more passing centric, and they have a 5'8", 175 running back who just gutted you play after play after play.
Yeah.
So
there's nothing really to even like debate or discuss here.
no,
We knew the run defense was probably not going to be good, and it has been worse than we anticipated. And I thought we anticipated, and we told people for months, I don't know how this team is going to do stopping the run.
no. And then
here we are, and they are worse than we anticipated they might be.
Dante comes back. Thought he played, quite well given all the circumstances, but then you lose. Rob Jackson, I think, went out in the first series with some
he was
sort
in a
of
sling.
I saw him. Our seats are right at the 50-yard line on the EC bench, so I'm able to get a pretty good look of what's going on. I think he came back with like a wrap around his wrist / lower forearm. Not sure what happened to Josh Minkins. He was still in uniform, but didn't really play in the second half.
He didn't play the second half.
Didn't see much of.
Sat said after the game he got hurt right before halftime.
Didn't see much of Jaquan Sanks in the second half. Every time I looked out there, it was a lot of, and this is not run defense oriented, but it's to a point of, it was a lot of Logan Wilson, Mekhi Miller, Derek Hantine, Antoine Pete Jr. It's just like, you're just starting to, you're losing some attrition already of defenders, and you're going to be left wondering, like, how are you going to fix that part of the game? Because you can have great corners and great safeties, and the offense can be fine. And I think for the most part, the offense was fine until certain areas. But like, if you're not going to stop the run, you're not going to control the game.
No.
And
you're in the best running league in the country.
Right.
Like, just foreshadowing what's ahead. Like, that's what I had said from the start is we're afraid they can't stop the run, and they're going to go up against, like, 4 of the best backs in the country. They avoid probably some of the best ones.
Well, and it's like I would see plays where they would mug up and have guys in the A gaps, but either those guys would just kind of stay there or drop out a little bit, or if they did go forward, they would just run it off tackle.
Yeah. A lot of it feels like, Dave, like you have your defensive line, you're asking them to get penetration, and then a lot of times the linebackers are just kind of there at the line of scrimmage. Like that, I think that's what you're getting at. I'm just saying it in a simpler term. Like they're just kind of hanging out there. So
that's what I'm saying. Like
you're not getting any push forward at the quarterback, and you're leaving this bubble around your defense open off the tackles and over the middle, kind of 10, 12 yards down the field where crossers are running free. There's just this whole space right now that the offense can attack this defense, and the defense looks helpless against it.
I mean, you have 6, you're theoretically 3-3-5. You have 6 guys within 5 to 7 yards of the line of scrimmage, plus this third safety that you can move around in a manner or fashion depending on what the offensive formation like. So you shouldn't feel like you're being outnumbered as much as it feels like they're being outnumbered in the running game.
And guess what? Like Pitt had pretty much the same number of guys in the box. I think they play 4 down linemen, but 2 linebackers and 5 defensive backs. They were in the backfield all day.
Well, because we'll get into that on the offense. They're a pressure team. Like they pressured 41% of the time against Kent State. I felt like it was that much or more, especially in the second half, especially on Dante Buford's side, where on several third and manageable, not third and longs, I'm talking like 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4.
They were offensively, they were ahead of the sticks almost the entire
They're just
game.
bringing pressure, and we're either not slide protecting correctly. We don't have the right personnel in to maybe max protect. Like and I know this is probably way too simple of a thought. Like, I'm sure a coach would be like, well, in this case, that wouldn't work. But like on these money downs, I mean, we can. I mean, I have some more defensive stats, but it just kind of goes to show the opposites of like on these money downs, you can't max protect and hit Xavier Henderson on a 5-yard stop route. I mean, he had a free release almost the whole damn game. Like,
well, after they beat him over the top a couple times, then Pitt backed off their DBs and said, "We're not going to let you go over the top."
Like, Randy Bates is going to pressure. Like, it's not a surprise all of a sudden that he likes to pressure. So, like on 3rd and 4, when they have to get a stop, you think he's just going to like chill out and drop 6 or 7, you know, and
but
not
my
bring...
point being, Dave, Pitt plays the numbers game. They play the math.
That's what I'm saying.
You have 5 to block me. We're coming with more than that.
You have to match it, and we didn't match it. Like, we're just still in a 5-down lineman formation with the quarterback and shotgun and the sidecars.
I'm still talking about UC's defense.
Oh, yeah.
They're not playing the numbers game. They're playing 3-on-5 or 4-on-5. Like, you're blockable.
Yeah.
The reason Pitt was able to get pressure is because they were playing 6-on-5, 7-on-5.
Sure.
Like, they sold out. We're going to pressure your quarterback. We're going to pressure your backfield and make this difficult for you. And UC said, we're going to send 3, and we'll see how it goes from there.
We gave those looks at times, but we either didn't follow through with it or just don't have the dudes to win one-on-one battles.
Right.
You know, getting to the – I mean, I don't know how you call it anything else but a full meltdown in the 4th quarter. Like,
utter.
You're up 27-6. It takes all three parts of the game for it to happen. But like and you guys mentioned it the other night or last night, still felt like there was probably too much rotating defensively.
Yeah.
You know, and then I looked at the last 3 touchdown drives for Pitt. 24 plays, 9.5 minutes, 251 yards, 10.4 yards per play.
Which, I mean, it isn't surprise. Reed had 10 yards a touch for the day.
Right. I mean, they obviously have a 38-yard touchdown on 4th down. They have the 56-yard touchdown to him. But, like, you know how hard that is to do? Especially when, for 3 quarters, Pitt's quarterback looked like he had no business being on the field.
Right.
To then be able to flip a switch or find something that wasn't working before that was working now, or doing something different that you weren't doing, whatever it was. I mean, you punt the ball down to the 6-yard line and you give up a 94-yard drive in 2 minutes and 4 seconds. Now, again, 56 yards of that was one play. But
still, the whole point was you pinned them at the 6-yard line, and they acted like they started at the 50.
Yeah, the first play was a 10-yard run right up the mid, like 10-yard run right up the mid.
Right,
so
right.
You're instantly out of the shadows of the goal line, and you can call whatever plays you want to call.
That's what happens when you're giving up 7 yards, 6-7 yards a play. That means some of them pop for 10, 12.
Yeah. So the defense is a monumental concern when it comes to especially the run game, because you don't even really need to talk about any frustrations you might have in not being able to pressure the quarterback. Because if you're just giving up that much on the ground, like, it's never going to matter.
Right.
You know, if you can't fix that, if you can't get that number down, if you can't get teams in 2nd and 7 instead of 2nd and 4, it doesn't matter how good you are in the back end, or if you can get to the quarterback, because in the downs that matter, they're never going to have to throw it, because they're never going to have to be in those downs.
Right.
So, we'll see. We'll see next week. Miami has one data point. Northwestern offense did not do much of anything. Has not ever really typically been a big rushing team. but we'll see. So I don't know how much you're really going to be able to necessarily take from that, other than God forbid they better win.
Dave, does it matter if
no, that's what I mean. Like, it doesn't really.
Does the running back matter? Are you worried about any? Is there any, they could put Aaron out there, and I would be pretty sure he could get 4 yards a pop.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm just giving like a kind of a big old we'll see, because like history has said that they don't really run the ball well against UC, regardless of who's been. As long as Chuck Martin's been there, they've not really been a run team.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Are you going to see them not be able to run because that's just kind of who they are? And then if they are able to run, then that opens up a whole. It doesn't really open up a new discussion. It's just another nail into the continuation of the discussion, that if a team that is not typically a great running team has success running the ball, then what the hell is Taj Brooks going to do the next week, and all the other backs that they're going to face?
Well, I mean, isn't this the ultimate super frustrating part? Is UC put it on tape against Townsend that if you just run off tackle, there's going to be wide open grass everywhere.
Yep.
Pitt, you only had to watch tape for 90 seconds to ascertain that very detailed bit of information. And it looked exactly the same. Exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
That part, I thought at least we would see some attention to detail in slowing that down, and we did not.
No, it looked the same, and that's what I mentioned earlier about they don't run. It didn't seem like they ran some big old exotic run game with misdirection, and it wasn't Kansas guys. Pitt lined up, moved people out of the way, and ran the ball between the tackles and off tackle.
Yeah. They were smart. It felt like they ran outside when Dante was in and inside when Dante was out.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Dante was out, they ran a lot of their, between tackle stuff.
Yeah.
Which, guess what? That's just good play calling. Hey, their behemoth run stopper just jogged off. Let's call it run up the middle until he comes back in.
Yeah.
I could have coached that game.
Well, yeah, it was. It's just frustrating because I think not being able to stop the run is the way that you just suck the life out of a defense.
Well, and I mean, here's the other thing that they're probably not going to get to experience a whole lot, Dave. Pitt kind of had to abandon the run, or they got behind. They probably still should have ran it more.
Well, that's what I said at halftime was why that end of game or end of first half sequence was so vital, was that it allowed them to not have to abandon the run, or at least not totally, maybe not totally abandon it. But if you go down and you score a touchdown there, and it's 24-3, or even if you get the field goal and don't give up the field goal, and it's 20-3 instead of 17-6, and and say you just stop them on the first drive of the second half, you're now into 20 minutes of game time left, down 3 scores. You're really not going to be able to run the ball.
Well, I guess the other thing that we didn't talk about it last night. We haven't talked about it today. So you have that 6-point swing at the end of the half that felt ominous at the time.
For sure.
But then they take the opening kick to the 50, which was oh, great. Here we go. This is going to be a 1-score game immediately out of halftime. Yeah. You stop them. You march down the field and score.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that the touchdown they scored in the third quarter?
Yeah, to Royer.
Yeah. You march down the field and score, and it felt okay, we are seeing some growth from this team because they didn't let the catastrophic event of the first half, at the end of the first half, bubble up and bite them immediately in the second half. It's like, all right, well, they weathered the storm. Maybe they are going to be able to overcome a missed chip shot, which was a bad snap and a bad hold as a result. Laces out or laces in, sorry. And they somehow they managed to go, they go 50 yards in 2 plays.
Yeah.
And you answer the bell. You come out of the locker room, you get the stop, you punch it in. Okay, water's calm. Like, that should have been the stabilizing moment. And instead, everything after that went to shit. Everything. The whole operation.
Even on top of that, you get another field goal to go up 27-6.
Yeah. Yeah.
On a drive that had all sorts of issues. I mean, I think you started on they got hit a 12-yard punt.
Yeah.
You started on their 40.
Duck hook left. Maybe the worst punt I've ever seen.
You start on their 40 and have a bunch of penalties, but still, you get points. You should feel exceptionally well being almost to the end of the third quarter with a 21-point lead on a team that, to that point, I don't think had 200 yards of total offense.
They didn't.
I remember looking up at one point, well into the second, or in the end of the third quarter, and they had 94 yards rushing and 94 yards passing.
Yeah.
And then we've already talked about the defense and what happened there and the cumulative effect of it. But the way that the offense played, especially in the fourth quarter, end of the third quarter, into the fourth quarter, contributed to that just as much as the poor defense in the things that I already mentioned about Pitt's pressure, and it felt like just the lack of protection changes. Because in the first half, I noted that they were bringing pressure and UC was beating it. So I was interested to see, are they going to pull it back or are they going to keep it up because they feel now that we're down 17, 14, 21, we kind of have to Katie bar the door. We're either going to pressure our way back into this or we're going to lose by 30. You're not going to make hay either way, just kind of playing it normal, so to speak. So they're either going to bring it more, and I think they did, especially on those key downs where it felt like they were bringing at least 7. And then
there was no chance. There was no time to even adjust and get out of the pocket because there was no pocket.
He ended up with, I want to say 8 targets, but I felt like especially in the second half, Royer didn't, outside of the touchdown, wasn't looked at, and especially in those vacated areas. If you're going to bring a safety off the edge or linebackers, isn't that how you're supposed to use the tight end to come behind?
I think they did a good job of just saying we're not going to we're going to bring pressure and we're going to make sure that he's not a safe.
I'm sure
they had somebody pretty much underneath and over the top of him.
But okay, then, and I feel like
somebody else has got to be open.
I feel like we have our big talk, and a lot of our big offensive talk in the offseason was we know who Xavier Henderson is. We think we know who Joey Royer is. What about the other dudes? I feel like
they missed the throws. Sorsby missed the throws. There were 5 first down throws that he sailed.
Yeah, and I think part of it was the pressure started getting to him and maybe not hanging in there as quite as long as he probably maybe could have because he's feeling the pressure a bit. Because there was a one throw on the UC sideline that I think was maybe to Tony Johnson that sailed. Yeah. He was sailing stuff because I think he's kind of leaning back, trying to give himself a little bit more space before he gets hit or before he gets pressured, and a bunch of stuff was going high in that fourth quarter.
Swing pass to the right towards Pitt.
Aaron Turner. He overthrew the throw right before that as well on their sideline. But they were 5 for 7 on third down and ended up 7 for 15, 0 for 4 in the fourth quarter. Just a lot of little stuff offensively, and that kind of all accumulated into these misses in the fourth quarter, especially. And then I know you guys talked about a ton. Corey's game in that situation on the 9-yard run, 2nd and 1. And I guess my thing is like, okay, on merit, saying Evan Pryor it was in because it was a run pass option, I totally get. Like, yeah, sure. Well, don't call that play.
Well, Corey can't be the running back in an RPO. He's not being asked to catch the ball at that point in time.
That's part of it, but it's just like 2nd and 1, 2.5, 2:46 left or whatever. Like, he's carried the ball 20 times. He's been in on other plays when he's thrown the ball. Like, he can't carry it 21 times.
Here's my thing. This is the part that annoys me, Dave. What did we talk about in the spring when it came to the running game?
The options?
No.
And it's just
no. In regards to Corey Kiner, they're limiting his miles. They're not giving him a ton of touches. They are making sure that when he gets to the season, there's not a lot of extra miles on the car. Doesn't that mean when you get to the season, you better be ready to drive the damn car in a game where he is
in winning time, man? Pitt. It's winning time.
Yeah, he's dominating Pitt. They couldn't do anything with him.
I mean, like, I'm just
you know
trying
how many runs he had. You know how many runs he had under 3 yards yesterday, Dave?
Probably 1, maybe 2.
2. A gain for 1 and a gain for 2. He was not stopped behind the line of scrimmage on a single play. And he's not out there with the game on the line on 2nd and 1 or 3rd and 3.
I'm just trying to think of like big time running teams, whether it's college or NFL, that it's like when it's winning time, and we're gonna run it, and everybody else knows on 2nd and 1 that we're gonna run it, and we're gonna pick up this first down, but we're gonna take out our lead back. Like the Titans, they're gonna in the playoff game against the Bengals. It's 4th down. Derrick Henry's in. Everybody knows who's getting the damn ball. And he got the ball, and the Bengals busted through and stopped him, and it was a huge play in the game. But it's like, could you imagine if the Titans were like, we're a running team. We've ran our way to the number 1 seed the whole season with Derrick Henry. And now we're in the first round of the playoffs, and it's 4th down, and here comes backup running back guy.
You know what I at least trust Kiner to do in that situation? Not lose 2. So that you have 3rd and 1. You know what I mean? Like, even if he doesn't get the first down, he's going to get back to the line of scrimmage.
Well, to me,
and it's going to be 3rd and 1. And the playbook is vastly different on 3rd and 1 than it is 3rd and 3.
To me, that's just a prime example. And I feel like Sat has even said this before. That was a prime example to me about be about players, not plays.
Yeah.
Like, what's the best play we can run to achieve the objective that we need to achieve right now? Okay, I figured what that play out is. What is the best personnel that matches that play? Okay, that's the play I'm going to call. Like, it just felt like it was a be about play, not about players.
That's
and yes, you can say like you gotta block it up better in the running back. Yeah, all that stuff is also true. But in this,
someone texted me my favorite line of the whole debacle, Dave. Sometimes you're not playing chess. Sometimes you're just fucking playing checkers.
That's what I mean by saying, like, everybody knows we need to run the ball to pick up 1 yard.
Right.
Who's the person on this team most capable of picking up the thing that we need to do?
Yeah, but you're not playing. That guy's not playing checkers. He's playing chess. Sometimes the game in front of you is just checkers, and you just play checkers. You're not playing chess. You're not moving 15 pieces around. You're just jumping and kinging. You're just playing checkers. Just play checkers. Give the ball to Kiner. Run the clock.
Sometimes 1 + 1 = 2 is just fine. Like, And obviously, you don't get it. Then you're in the 3rd and 3. Then they bring the heat again, and you don't complete the pass, which, again, this is just standing up in the stands. You're down on the field. You're like, I know he had a fumble last week, but wasn't Victor Dawson on the team to pick up short yardage situations?
Yeah. And he'd had a fumble that wasn't like a short yardage situation.
No, it wasn't like he ran into 3 guys and coughed it up. Like,
no, he fumbled because he's not experienced at running 54 yards down the field.
And I'm not saying I would. I'm not saying I would put him in here over.
I know it's
Corey either, but there were other short yardage.
Right.
There were other situations during the game where Corey didn't get the carry. I mean, Evan Pryor and Chance Williams got, I think, a combined 8 or 9 carries and both averaged 0.8 yards per carry. So, in those situations where it was maybe 2nd and 3 and you gave it to them and they didn't get anything, maybe if you don't want to put Corey in because maybe he had just carried it 3 out of 5 plays or something.
No, Dave.
Well, I'm just being hypothetical here.
I'm going to tell you specifically. He touched the ball 3 times in the 4th quarter.
Okay, right. But
3 times. 3.
Throughout the game.
You know how many yards he gained on those 3 touches?
Probably 30, 25?
43 yards.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
His shortest run in the 4th quarter was 8 yards. They gave it to him 3 fucking times. 3.
With a 27-6 lead. Well, 27-13.
27-13. Right.
Essentially.
Right. And
the first time
dwindling.
Right. The first time they touched the ball in the 3rd quarter or in the 4th quarter, they had a 27-13 lead.
Yeah. And he ran the first play of the 4th quarter, he ran for 26 yards. And then the next time they gave it to him, he ran for 9. That resulted in the 2nd and 1 situation. And then the next time they gave it to him, he ran for 8. Or that might be backwards, but whatever.
Yeah.
The 9 was the last time he touched the ball, right?
Yeah.
3 carries. Mm-hmm. For a guy running like that, with the game on the line, look, you know what I go back to, Dave? You know what turned around the 2018 season? You know what sparked that team to go on the run that it did?
The truck.
They just gave the ball to Mike Warren and said, work. Now, maybe Corey Kiner is not that guy that you give it to. You remember he ran 42 times in the UCLA game?
Well, you give it to him enough until they show – until you're obviously not going to just run a guy into the ground in the 2nd game of the season. But you either do it enough until the other team shows you that they can stop it.
Right.
Or
3 touches in the 4th quarter. 3. He had over 100 yards going into the 4th quarter. I think he had 108 yards or whatever it was.
Yeah, I think
going into the 4th quarter. And they gave him the ball 3 times, and it wasn't like he got stopped. 43 yards on 3 carries.
No, he looks good.
You're telling me the season is going to look, and guess what? The season is going to look totally different because he didn't run it 25 times. An extra 5 carries in the 4th quarter, 4 or 5 extra carries in the 4th quarter, and UC wins that game. You won't ever be able to convince me otherwise.
No, and the unfortunate part is and that's that's sports in general, but it's like if they ran the ball to him on that 2nd and 1 and they get the first down and somehow they essentially cut out the clock or win the game or whatever, it still doesn't paper over the fact that it had no business being a 27-25 game at that point, and you still have the so I'm not saying it's still not the right topic to be discussing.
A win is a win. Like you play to win the game.
Well, you don't even when you lose or even when you do win and there's issues like with the run game, like you can still build momentum off of that. I mean, you went 3-9 last year. Like you have to stack wins at some point, regardless of how they happen or who they happen against. Like you're never going to build positive momentum by losing, whether it's close or by a lot.
Right.
So win the game and worry about how we can fix all these other different things coming off of a win. not coming off of a catastrophic loss.
So here's the thing. We are now going to find out if the talk in the offseason was just talk, if there was substance to it, that this team is tighter. This team is about the right things. This team, has their head on straight and are pushing forward. Because you've got, I don't even know if Houston, do we count Houston winnable anymore with how they played Oklahoma yesterday?
I don't think. You can count it as winnable. I don't think there's this is a win. Roll the balls out.
Right. I think after week 1, we all thought Houston, that's, just show up and you'll be able to beat Houston. And then they come out and they take Oklahoma to the wire.
Right.
And you think Willie Fritz isn't familiar with playing at Nippert Stadium and playing UC? Second nature to him. We're going to find out if if all of that stuff was substance or if it was off-season filler. Yeah. Everybody's saying the right things because Miami's a no-win situation. If they go out there and beat Miami, everybody's going to say, yeah, you should have done that last year.
Right.
If they lose,
yeah, pretty much.
If they lose, the hostage situation, the barricade situation might be me.
Yeah.
I'm locking myself out of the house.
You're gonna have to drag us to the computers Sunday morning. No, we're not talking about it.
I'm serious. I'm locking myself out of the house. I don't want any access to this studio if they lose to Miami. No. I didn't want to deal with it last night.
It's like you're in week 3 and you're just absolute must win in a game that but the must win of it doesn't really benefit you. The only thing you're avoiding is calamity.
Yeah.
But even by winning. So,
I guess the other question is, even with the win in Miami, this felt different with the fan base. I talked about this a little bit last night with Aaron.
Yeah.
This felt like a lot of people through it. A lot of people that had not these, you're always going to have the people that want the coach fired and they're up in arms and they're mad online all the time. This didn't feel like those people. This felt like the people that have been filling that stadium for the last season plus and have seen wins over Eastern Kentucky and Towson.
Yeah. I think I look at it as you had a segment, and I'm not going to get into percentages, but you had a segment that didn't like the hire from the jump.
Right.
Based on whatever. Then you had a much larger segment that kind of went away, at least mentally, after the Miami game last year because they just couldn't.
But they were still filling the stadium all year.
But yeah, those people might have still showed up, but in their heads, and then now Saturday, because I do think in the offseason, there were, you can call them vibes, call them whatever you want. I think they did a good job of having coaches and players and everybody really talk, show fans that they're trying to, these changes were trying to be made. Please stick with us. And we know it was a rough first year. We're really working. And I think a lot of people, I'm not going to say they jumped back in with 2 feet, but at least we're back to the point of okay, prove it. I want it to go well. I love being a Bearcat fan. I'm not rooting for failure. But now you have, I'm giving you the opportunity. Now go prove it.
And had 38,000 people yesterday that for up until 3 o'clock
having a
We're
great
like,
time.
damn, beautiful day.
I was getting ready to fire.
Bearcats are
I
kicking
was
butt.
in the process of firing off a whole bunch of tweets, and those got pocketed.
You fired off a bunch of tweets. They just were not the same tweets that
Yeah,
you
we don't talk about that. That's for a different time, different place. If you want to find those, you know where to find them. Had a lot of engagement impressions last night on that, and a whole nother one that was very weird. But yeah, but like now that happens, and now they're just people just angry.
Yeah,
Like just angry, and
what
you don't
what's
really
the stadium going to look like for the Houston game?
And you don't. I mean, what do you say? Like, I'm not going to tell you how to fan. I'm not going to tell you that you shouldn't be whatever emotion you want to feel after that. Like, you're the team that you pay any amount of money for. Just walked all over a team for essentially 3 quarters, and then somehow figured out a way to lose the game. Like, what emotion, what reaction do you think people are going to have?
Right.
So
anger.
Yeah, it'll
a
be
lot of anger.
And
right
anger only holds on for so long until it becomes apathy. And that's what
Right.
we saw at the end of Tommy Tuberville's time here.
Right.
People weren't angry anymore. They just didn't care.
Right.
And that's
I'm
worse.
not doing this.
Right.
And
like I got anything better to do.
You're in a sports market.
With my money, like anything better to do.
You're in a sports market that is super saturated. Like maybe per capita as saturated as any sports market in America. Bengals kick off here in 3 hours, 2.5 hours.
Yeah. The Red season is essentially over.
But FC Cincinnati is in the playoffs or almost in the playoffs again.
Yeah.
Right around the corner is UC and Xavier basketball, who both teams are supposed to be good. Like, you're at a risk of people just going, I'm not going. Nope. I'm good. I'm not going to spend that money. And, again, I've talked about this with people in sports, on this beat, whatever, over the years. What do we got to do to get better coverage? Win. None of the other shit matters. Not a damn thing actually matters.
It's not
if you don't win.
Yeah, and I don't say this with like any disrespect or anything, but it's not a college town or state with no major professional team where the day-to-day is the lifeblood. Like the day everybody sucks in the day-to-day. Like a West Virginia or an Alabama or an Auburn or like
Tennessee.
Tennessee's got pro sports, but I mean Tennessee,
but not in the same city.
No, not in the same
2
city.
hours apart.
Right. But yeah, so like it's easier to keep people around when they consume it every single day because there's no, they're a sports fan, they consume it. There's nothing else for me to really consume in this area. So this is what I'm going to do, good or bad. Like I'm in because I like sports and I just ride the wave of good.
I might be angry, but I'm still in.
Right.
Angry here means what else you going to do? Something else. I'm going to do something else.
Where else you going
to go? Somewhere else. I will go somewhere else. The Reds learned that lesson the hard way. I will go somewhere else. I will stop coming. I will stop caring.
Yep.
And that's, that I am not at the point where I will say there's no recovering from yesterday, because there is, as unlikely as it feels right now, there is a path to recovery, because while it feels very unlikely at this point, you still have Miami, Houston, Texas Tech, Arizona State,
Colorado.
Those are not gargantuan, unbeatable, unwinnable games.
No, you
can right the ship.
And they're all teams in a very similar.
Feel likely.
Besides Arizona State, who is, I think, surprising a whole bunch of people, especially after they beat Mississippi State last night. a lot of those teams are facing not necessarily the exact same issues, but issues nonetheless. So, yes, it's not like over for the sake of being over, but
yet. We better see a big answer. A big answer.
So for the last 10 minutes of this, we'll look at some games from around the nation. Should we just talk about Nico the whole time and how Tennessee's like the greatest team ever? He didn't even play good and they won by 40.
At least you had something to make you happy last night, Dave.
If UC didn't win, I'd had one of the best sports Saturdays ever. Or if UC would have won, Michigan State for the wife kicked like a field goal at the buzzer to beat Maryland. Tennessee rolled. Kentucky got stomped. Like, I mean, it would have been a great day. But no, Bearcats had to screw it up for me. Michigan's going to have a rough year, which is not a surprise considering they, I think, had 24 guys invited to the combine and had like 14 guys drafted, lost their coach, and like, what did people think?
Their offense is trash.
Yeah, they don't have a quarterback, so good luck with that, even with the great defense. 2 games in, I think there's about 5 teams I would consider that are really good. Other than that, I think there's a lot of TBD. Big 12 I'm sure you and Aaron will touch on it, had a very interesting day yesterday. A lot of down earlys, come back late stuff, so I don't know. The Notre Dame thing. Marcus got to figure out how to not drop these really weird G5 home games every year.
Yeah. I mean,
because he builds up a lot of
done. They get a huge win and then
builds up good momentum, and then this had the Marshall game, now has the Northern Illinois game, which earned me a ton of followers on Twitter somehow by sending out a tweet about the terrible spot at the very end. The my guy Alex Golish, quite a performance last night down in Tuscaloosa. That final score is
they lost by 30.
Incredibly misleading.
They lost. Bama rolled Tide.
Yeah, 14-13 in the fourth quarter. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And fumble at the goal line.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, man. It's tough to think about the other games today after the UC game. If UC would have won, I would have had much more interest in really looking at the results from around the country. I mean, you guys will touch on it, so I don't want to take the whole thing, but the Colorado thing is I don't think that's going to go very well. I think
we can do something here.
What can we do?
I've got to turn in my Big 12 power rankings for the week. Number 1, Utah still?
Kansas State.
Didn't they struggle yesterday?
Yeah, they almost lost to Tulane, but Cam Rising's hurt. I can't put Utah
he got a cut on his hand or something, right? Like
he didn't play the rest of he was in street clothes, so
okay.
I don't know if I could put
Kansas State and Utah.
I don't know if I can put them 1 if I don't know the status of Cam Rising.
Okay. Can you put them 2?
Yeah, probably 2.
3. Does Arizona go up to 3?
Iowa State.
Really? Yeah.
That was a great win at Iowa.
Yeah, you're right.
Arizona struggled with Northern Arizona last night.
Who goes in 4? UCF?
No, because they've just played 2 FCS teams. Oklahoma State.
I mean, they looked terrible for a long time yesterday too.
Yeah, they beat Arkansas though. I can't put a team that beat Sam Houston State and New Hampshire ahead of the team that beat Arkansas.
All right, who goes 5? Is that UCF?
Arizona State.
Okay. That's fair. I had UCF at 6 last week. I think I'm going to leave them there.
That's fine.
7. BYU?
Probably BYU or no, Arizona.
Okay.
BYU was not, or yeah, I'd go Arizona.
Then BYU at 8.
Yeah, then BYU.
9. West Virginia.
Where's TCU in all this? Who have they played?
TCU is. I had TCU at 10 last week.
They've played Stanford, who they won, and Long Island.
Yeah.
Kansas. What did Kansas do yesterday? They beat Illinois, or did they lose?
I think they came back and won.
Oh, if they won, then I would. They came back and won. I would probably put them higher than any of those other teams that have probably in the 6.
Or no, they lost. They lost 23-17.
Yeah, I'd still put them
Illinois.
probably. I'd put them ahead of TCU.
Okay, I think Jalen Daniels had like 4 interceptions.
That's not good.
Yeah.
And then whatever order you want the rest, like, doesn't really matter.
TCU 10, West Virginia.
Baylor's got to be
11.
towards the bottom. Houston's towards the bottom.
I think I'll move Houston to 12 just for playing close to Bama.
Or Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I mean, 15 and 16 have to be Cincinnati and Colorado, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So 13. Who am I missing? 13 would be Texas Tech.
Where'd you have Houston? 12?
12, yeah.
That seems high, even with them playing them close. But we're 2 weeks in.
I mean,
so do whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, what is the rest of these teams shown?
No, I know.
I'm putting Colorado 16th.
Yeah, screw them.
I'm missing somebody.
Dylan Raiola is the truth.
I'm missing somebody. Kansas State, Utah, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, Arizona State, UCF, Arizona, BYU, Kansas, TCU, West Virginia,
Texas Tech,
Houston, Cincinnati, Colorado. I'm missing one.
Baylor. Oh, Baylor's towards
Baylor.
The Baylor's towards the back.
Baylor or Texas Tech?
Who cares?
I'll go Baylor 13, Texas Tech 14, Cincinnati 15, Colorado 16.
Works for me.
All right. That assignment is done.
Good.
Is UC defense that bad? Yes, Ron.
Yeah. Through 2 games, especially against the run, it is that bad, Ron. Listen to the first half of the pod, and you'll hear some numbers to support that. now that you're awake on the West Coast, if you'd like to go back and check that out.
Marcus said vacate the number 1 spot for this conference this week.
Yeah. There's nobody.
Just send it in. Send it in 2 through 17.
There really isn't anybody that's like jumping out as like this team is through 2 weeks. No. It has looked really good both games. So. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Another reason to be annoyed by playing poorly is like you might have a year like this where there isn't a dominant or 2 dominant teams.
Right. But guess what? You can't stop the run. It don't matter.
Nope. It sure doesn't. Well, I'm going to get ready to go to the Bengals game.
I hope that goes better for you than yesterday did.
I do too. I mean,
are you playing? Sounds like
I'm not.
A lot of guys not playing.
I think my hammies would be pretty tight. I don't think I'd get off the line very well back in my old wide receiver glory days. Yeah, probably my catch radius isn't very good. Joe would have to be pretty accurate.
That's his thing, right? He's
which
accurate.
She is. But no, we'll be standing room only tickets. So it's quite a deal.
There you go. Did we hit on Hal Vine? You want to talk about that for 1 second?
Sure. I don't know anything about him.
The basketball roster has added a player, Hal Vine Zalet. I think that's somewhere close to how you say it. He will redshirt this year. He's a French big man, 20 years old, played on the under 20 Eurobasket championship team for France. He was the captain of said team. 6'10", 230, which is a good sized boy. They're a grown ass man, given that he probably won't play here until he's like 22 as a freshman.
Yeah.
So yeah, Wes getting creative as he's a red shirt. I would assume that's not costing you a big old bag of NIL to get a big man that's accomplished a gold medal in FIBA play. So how good is he? I don't know. Like, he's been playing in Eurobasket and for France. Like,
yeah.
We'll see how he adjusts when he comes over here and plays the American game, but he looks like he runs really well, gets most of his shots at the rim, so he knows who he is, knows his identity, a little bit of a shot blocker, good offensive rebounder. His defensive rebounding numbers are a little questionable, so that'll be an area that they need to work on if he's going to play inside in the Big 12. Not being good on the defensive glass is that's a way to not be on the floor.
Yeah,
in this league. So he arrived in town yesterday during the football game.
It's his fault. Get him out of here. Send him back.
Well, he was on the plane. He landed in Kentucky. He wasn't even in Cincinnati yet. So yeah, that's that news. And if anything else pops up on that, we'll bring it to you. But I think that's pretty much what we're going to get out of that situation now. A practice player for this season, which you never have too many bigs for practice, so you don't wear your own guys down. Doing scout team stuff, but yeah.
All right. Well, I hope next week's show Jeff is able to join us, and that we get to talk about a win, because I don't really want to talk about another loss.
Yeah, I don't. I'm probably going to have to watch the replay of next week's game in the car on the way home from a volleyball tournament.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Enjoy your Sunday, and thanks again to our great partners at Live Healthy Hydrate. Check them out. Sounds like they've got a lot of cool stuff going on. And Chad and the gang will see everybody tomorrow night for the BBP. Have a great day.